Hello, I'm David and I'm an Alchemy user. I wanted to show you a quick video on verifications and how to add them when you're doing your initial recording, as well as how to add them after the recording, kind of manually. So first of all, I've got an empty suite here that I've already created, and I'm going to add my first test. You'll notice in these tabs across the top I have a sites tab. That's where all of the elements that I encounter while I'm recording or that I've added from the inspector will show up. So I don't have a site that's been added so far. I'm just going to start with a brand new test in this brand new suite. Test number 1. And I'm just going to start that with a recording. And you'll notice in my suite I do have the URL to my website that I'm testing. Okay, so now that I'm here, we'll get rid of this message and we'll go over to the About screen. And on the About screen, what I want to do, the objective of this test in this demo, is just to verify these breadcrumbs are correct here. So if I right click on that, About testing, and I say verification match value. So what that's going to do is make sure that the value of that breadcrumb is about ion testing, the text that displays on the screen. And you'll notice over here in Alchemy it's recorded such an event. So does that element match this expected value string? And as we expand that, you'll see that we have several options for this verification called a match. And what you can do is first of all, on the left we have the actual value, and on the right we have the expected value. So I'm expecting it to say about ion testing, and the actual value that it's going to pull at runtime is the value that it sees at this locator. So we have to configure the match for those parameters such that the actual value that we pull is going to be from a locator indicated here where the green dot is, and the expected locator, the actual locator is what is in the field up here, and that got put in there at recording time. Now as far as the expected, I'm sorry, I may have said that backwards. I think that I meant to say the actual source is a locator, and the locator is recorded in the field. The expected source is just a value, and that's just a text value, and so the expected value was recorded at record time. So I'm just going to stop my recording right there and play this back. And I notice right off I've got a little problem with this. I'll probably need to address that later, but it'll cruise right through that in just a second. Okay, so what we can see here is that it did the verification, and it did pick up that locator did yield the value of this. So if we wanted to now add another step to our test, there's a few options. We can highlight this and begin to record again, and it will record below this line the further steps that we do. The other option that we have here is to manually add that verification in. So we can go in here to our action toolbox, and we'll sort or filter the category down to verification, and you'll see there is match value here. That's the action that we want. We'll look more about actions in a minute, but So I'm just going to drag this action into here. So you'll see, does actual value match expected value? It's very raw right now when we first put it in. And I'm just going to get rid of that drawer there. Now, what we need to do is configure these parameters again. We need to do this manually since we're not recording. So what we want is the expected, I'm sorry, I keep saying that backwards. The actual source, which is here, we want that to be a locator. And the expected source will be a value. That's already here, that's by default. Okay, so now that we have that configured, I'm just going to save the test. So now you notice it's changed and my field now says locator. So now I can go back to my data toolbox and look for that locator in my site here. But we already know, since I started with a raw suite, that locator doesn't exist because only the things that I actually interacted with are recorded or are stored in the site so far. So what I'm going to do is add that locator to my site now that I want to interact with. And I can do that straight from the Alchemy browser. So I already have where my test was. So I'll just put it in inspector mode, and then up here in the description, click on this little magnifying glass, move over here to the other thing that I want to verify, which is this, that it says home in the breadcrumb. Remember, my objective is just to verify the breadcrumb at this point. Click on that little refresh and it will give me the window into my site. So my site is called iontesting.com. The page that I'm going to put this in is the About Ion Testing page. And these are the tiered locators that we've determined could be used to identify that breadcrumb. And I'm just going to go with the defaults here for simplicity. I'm going to add that locator. Now I'll just go ahead and save, and that should save my site. And in my site now I'll see my home breadcrumb right here. So that now that I have that new locator, I can actually, in my test, drag it into here where I have the actual locator. So I'm going to refresh this list, go to my About Ion Testing. Here's my new locator that I've got, the home breadcrumb. I'll put that in as the actual locator. The expected value, I'll just type that in manually because we know it's just going to be home, the name that it's in that link there. Alright, so now that we've done that, we'll save the test, execute the test. I haven't addressed that yet, but that's for a later video. So now you see that it did in fact go and grab the value of that locator, and the actual value was home, and it did match the hard-coded value that I typed in, home. So that's how you can manually add in a verification for an element value, and hopefully that explains the expected and actual, if I didn't get my words too mixed up there. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you very quickly, if you wanted to see in that match value action, so again in our action toolbox we've got match value action right here that I'm using. If you want to see what that actually does, if you want to see the code behind it, you can do that. If you go to the home and go to advanced in your Alchemy client. Now what this window shows you are all of the actions, and the little green indicator indicates that these are verified actions. Most of these are out of the box. You can create your own and and verify those as well. But I want to look at this existing one. So first of all, we'll just look at the properties of this thing. So we'll click on it here, and you'll see these are all those things that I was getting my words mixed up on: the expected value, the expected source, the actual value, all the different arguments for that action, and then the output variables that come out of it. So that is the signature of that action, you might say. And consequently, this display template tells it what to display in the Alchemy test canvas as you drag it onto the canvas. So it says, does this match this? Okay, so if we want to see the actual code of this thing, so this is the signature again of that action. If we look at action versions here, and again select match value here, we'll see there's this one verified version, and if we click on it, here is the code behind that action. Now typically you don't ever have to worry about this code, so don't get freaked out here, but just know that if you are so inclined and want to examine this and understand more about how Alchemy works, you can use this code. Now, where does that come in handy? That comes in handy if you've got some other type of custom control that you want to create an action that can handle interacting with that control. And the good thing here is you've got this code as an example, so you can always use that to create your action and modify the code to make it work with your particular control. So that's all I've got for this video. Again, it was just to show you how to create a verification on an element at the initial recording time, as well as how to manually add one after the fact. Again, my name's David, and this has been an Alchemy Informative, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.